Stunning unemployment figures yesterday, Treasurer, as you're well aware, but we've just had the worst January consumer confidence in 30 years. There are, as you know, supply chain logjams. You've got inflationary pressures that are just around the corner. It's not all rosy, is it?
Well, Pete, there are definitely challenges because we're still in the middle of this pandemic, and it is the biggest economic shock since the Great Depression, and Omicron has dented confidence and it has impacted on consumer spending. But the Commonwealth Bank's data shows that consumer spending had only come down by 3% at the start of this year. The National Australia Bank has said that the economic conditions they're witnessing are nowhere near as severe that's been either reported or feared, and that spending has been above pre-pandemic levels. And Westpac's chief economist came out and said that consumer sentiment remains in positive territory. So the underlying fundamentals of the Australian economy are very sound, and yesterday's job numbers were remarkable. To see the unemployment rate come down to 4.2%, the lowest in more than 13 years, to know that since the coalition came to government, 1.7 million more Australians are now in work, including 1 million more Australian women are now in work. Let's not forget, Jim Chalmers, early on in the pandemic, said the single biggest test for the Morrison government's management of the COVID-19 pandemic would be what happens to the unemployment rate. And the unemployment rate today is 4.2% compared to 5.7% when Labor left office.
Yet we still have some 400,000 unfilled jobs, according to the ABS.
Well, there are job vacancies right across the country, and indeed in many sectors. We're working to train up Australians to take those jobs. We do have 220,000 apprentices who are now in a trade apprentice, and that's the highest since those numbers and statistics began back in 1963. We've tipped over 1 million jobs in manufacturing. Remember, under Labor, 1 in 8 manufacturing jobs were lost. We've got programs like Job Trainer. We've had the wage subsidy for apprentices, and right across the board, we're working on skilling up Australians to take those jobs.
In Perth, Innes Willox makes the point this morning, this is the final one here, Treasurer, $16 it costs now for a pint of beer in Perth because of supply chain issues. How sustainable is that?
Well, that is a pretty expensive pot, I have to tell you. The supply chains are under real pressures, but we have made changes to try to mitigate those pressures. So, for example, the changes around the isolation requirements agreed by National Cabinet are making a real difference. I was recently at a Coles distribution centre in Victoria where they explained how more people are back at work as a result of the changes that have been made. We know that the changes around the working requirements for international students, working holiday makers, will help with the workforce issues. We've put in place a school plan through National Cabinet so that schools can open at term 1 and stay open, because that will impact on the workforce. We're rolling out the vaccine to 5 to 11-year-olds, and of course we've got the booster shots that are rolling out across the country. All of these are individual initiatives within a broader strategic plan to address the workforce pressures that we're seeing right now.
Treasurer Josh Frydenberg, thanks for your time as always.
Good to be with you, Pete.